Ladies and gentlemen, may I request you to please put your hands together for our Honorable Chief Guest, Shri Ashwini Vaishnav, Honorable Minister for Railways, Communications, Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. May I request you to kindly join us on the dais, sir. Let's have a big round of applause for the Honorable Minister once again. We have gracing the dais with him, Mr. Uday Kotak, past President CI and Chairman CI Global Economic Policy Summit. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to welcome Mr. Uday Kotak. And let's extend a hand and welcome Mr. Soumitra Bhattacharya, Managing Director, Bosch Limited and Regional President, Bosch Group India. A big round of applause for him as well. Ladies and gentlemen, technology and Aatmanirbhar India, Aatmanirbhar Bharat, or self-reliant India is the vision of new India envisaged by the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji. In the upcoming session, we're going to actually deliberate how can India become more Atmanirbhar in technology in many more sectors and what can be the next steps going forward. Once again, a big thank you, our gratitude, and a big warm welcome to the Honorable Chief Guest for this session, Shri Ashwini Vaishnav, Honorable Minister for Railways, Communications, Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. With that said, I would now request Mr. Uday Kotak, CI Global Economic Policy Summit Chairman and past President CI, to kindly render his welcome and introductory remarks. Sir, please.
Good evening, friends, and a very warm welcome to Minister Ashwini Vaishnav ji. And rarely do you get a combination of entrepreneur, administrator and professional, and now a political hat all in one. So it's a unique combination, and I think that's the kind of combination we need for taking India to the next level in many, many areas. For some of you who were here in the morning, Minister Vaishnav, we got some very positive praise for you and one of your ministries from Baba Kalyani this morning. And he was talking about the railways. And difficult to praise something. And this was, as I say, the best of praise comes when it is behind your back. Okay. And Baba actually talked about how railways are going to scale, about the 20,000 crore tender and more tenders coming in, and the speed at which things are moving. So that was very, very heartening for most of the audience, some of them who were there in the morning as well, as also a lot of the business leaders who were there in the morning. And as I think about it, you got a unique portfolio. You got a portfolio of railways, IT, communications, and electronics, and information technology, all rolled into one. In many ways, this is the part of what will transform India. And the challenges for an Aatmanirbhar Bharat in a new world, for India to go international, it's not just about us going out and acquiring companies globally. What the Googles and the Apples and the Facebooks of the world have told, how do we create innovation, products, technology, which the world wants to take from us, and thinking differently. I'm also very enthused by the speed at which you made changes in the telecom sector, including the introduction of the 5G technology at speed. And of course, you're dealing with some very, very difficult and thorny issues like data privacy or security. How do we in the IT field move from being a services economy to becoming a product economy? So there's a lot going in the various subjects which are under you. And I am amazed at your ability to manage horizontally such diversity in your areas. So I've got a few questions for you later, but we would love to hear you and your views. We are once again really grateful for you spending time with us here this evening. Thank you very much, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. With that, we do have a special address from Mr. Soumitra Bhattacharya, Managing Director, Bosch Limited, sir. If I could request the Honorable Minister, as we like. The Honorable Minister's word is always the final word, so I thought.
I'll make it very short, sir. You must be wondering why should a multinational company representative be sitting here? But I just wanted to share that we are this year, good news, 100 years in India. Mr. Modi inaugurated a smart campus, and next year 70 years Make in India. So I'll just share a few comments on both sides of the coin, and along with what Uday said, perhaps get your views too. The first thing is on electronics. You know that better. On semiconductor, the 76,000 crores is a fantastic point. 2 years ago, when this whole crisis broke out, initially it was thought, why did it happen? And I met 5 of the secretaries and explained that there's a huge challenge in the whole supply chain, including the matter electronics and automotive, and electronics came first. The second thing is, as a chairman of CII for MNC, where we have 70 CEOs in our MNC council, we see that MNCs have a lot of stake in India. And for us, it's been a simple philosophy: India agenda first, industry next, and company not to be discussed. So in that context, I'll state a few points. One, the policies which are being rolled out, I think across the world, they are being accepted, acknowledged, and even praised. If I look at the other side of the coin on ease of doing business, one part is where the world is expecting India is not to change the cricket pitch while the game is going on. In many cases, it hasn't happened. Take in the automotive industry, that BS4 to BS6, we leapfrogged in 3 years, the world did it in 8 years. But however, few other legislations do change. So one part is that no changes when long-term regulations are going on. The second part is on ease of doing business. So while the center is doing huge amount of steps, the delta gap between the center and the state is massive. I'll give a concrete example. On the single window clearance, for example, today, while the states have brought that in, there are many cases where files are asked for while it's moving. So it's not a passport-like experience. So I always state worldwide, the passport-like experience currently is totally different from the past that we know. So can we, from ease of doing business, because we want to go to 50, break the 50 and later the 25, can we, whether it is on public procurement, take the L1 matter, whether it is direct taxes, take 1,500 APAs, which are there, only about 400 got cleared, and it takes about 29 weeks to get them cleared. On GST, I don't think industry is asking for tax breaks, but whether it is decriminalization, clarity, resolution, and so on and so forth. So center-state gap continues to be quite a big one. We from our industry as well as CI are trying to get everyone together for a common dialogue and trying to see how we reduce the gap and how we make transparency on KPIs. The next point is about what you often discuss, innovation and affordable innovation in India. And that is also Aatmanirbhar Bharat. Here, how can we do a jugalbandi between, example, CII, government, and of course, industry owners on R&D. R&D is very low. For example, if I take our company, Bosch, for the last 4 decades, the company parent spends 8 to 10% of its turnover, and turnover is 650,000 crores on R&D. In India, we spend 5 to 7%. Take carbon neutrality. We talk about it. 2020, we became carbon neutral worldwide, but also in India. So it's zero. It's completely neutral. So can we, sir, with your, but more importantly also with others, talk about some of these issues? What's going well, talk very clearly. What can be improved, talk about with KPIs, timelines, and put all 3 together, because industry needs to be made accountable. CII can be a catalyst to make it very concrete in terms of timelines. And I would just end by saying, and hand over to you, this is the sweetest moment India has had. The world is watching us. I believe not just the Indian companies, but MNCs who are here for a long time, who've created India agenda as a part of the agenda, can also play a role and bring in best practices and also, therefore, higher the bar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me here. Maybe I'll take 15, how much time do I? 15, 20 minutes? 25. 20-25 minutes. So next 20-25 minutes, we'll share some stories. A long session, long day, must be really tired. So maybe we can have some good fun. So I'll share the inside stories of 2 or maybe 3 developments. Then I'll make a request to all of you. So which one would you like to hear first, the telecom story or the railway story? Railway story. Telecom. How many telecom? How many railway? So railway wins. Clearly railway wins. Good. At least got you energized away from your phone. That was the objective. It was a trick. Just to make sure that you leave your phones and start listening. Good. So the story about railways. First of all, one of the most complex networks and one of those organizations which has a history of more than 100 years. So very difficult to change, very difficult to move, very difficult to go forward in a new way, right? When Prime Minister gave the target that we should transform railways, because there is no other way to transform the country than transform the railways. Railways affects practically each and every aspect of our life, whether it is cargo movement, whether it is people movement. In a country which is billion plus, there is no other way to move people other than having a very, very strong and resilient railway system. So how do you change railways? How do you transform railways? So first, Prime Minister Saab himself attended a Chintan Satra. That was in 2016 or 15, that time frame. Very long, 2.5-3 days session. Lots and lots of ideas came. Then out of those ideas were culled some key points, and one of the focus was transform the passenger experience. Why I am telling this story is, in the context of Aatmanirbhar Bharat, in the context of our own technology stack, where do we stand and how did we reach there? It's very important to know, because one story will lead to 1,000 more stories. Each success leads to 1,000 more successes. Each failure teaches us many, many things. So 2017, he gave the target that we should have world-class train. As it happens, when this kind of target comes, the first thing that people do is buy a ticket, go to Paris, go to Germany, go to France, go to US, go to Japan. Nice pictures, nice brochures, good websites, and come back, say, this is the world-class train, let's buy. So, good presentations were made. PM listened to all those presentations. He's one of the most patient listeners. He is very intense listener. 2.5-hour presentation with all numbers, and you will find him absolutely attentive. So he listened, he saw all those presentations, then he said, no. Absolute no. When we want to have a world-class train and we have an engineering ecosystem, a design ecosystem, which is developing for the entire world, why can't our engineers develop the world-class train? He gave that as the challenge. Believe you me, 2 साल के अंदर, and designing a train is not an easy task. Imagine a power plant of 10 megawatt running at a speed of 100 kmph, right? That's a train. That's a train. A power plant of 10 megawatt running at a speed of 100 plus kilometers per hour with people sitting in it. That's the complexity of that vehicle. That's the complexity of that machine. Aerodynamics, wheel, rail interaction, the way it accelerates, the way the track vibrations are absorbed. All those things have to be considered. The way air conditioning has to be absolutely perfect, because when the entire train is full, entire coach is full, You require much more air conditioning compared to when it is empty. So all kinds of things are there. With those challenges, the engineers designed, and the first train, first Vande Bharat was the name given by PM, that rolled out in 2019. And initially, like every machine, all of us are conversant with the way designs happen. First two machines were rolled out. They ran for the first two trains have actually run for 18 lakh kilometers. 18 lakh kilometers. That is, if you calculate 2n pi r as the radius of the earth, 2 pi r, right? Perimeter of the earth. 45 times they have moved around the entire globe. And this is when no spare rake was available, no spare train was available. Generally what happens is if you design 10, you'll put 9 in operation, 1 will be kept in spare for maintenance and overhauling and all kind of stuff. These two trains ran without any spare. They ran very successful. The world started noticing it. Many forces started working to make sure that the next lot of trains doesn't come. But Prime Minister's resolve was absolute resolve. And he said, whatever standard of design was there in the first Vande, now you have to make a better Vande compared to that. Like good boss, here's one of the finest bosses in the corporate India, two of the finest bosses sitting here, and many of the finest bosses sitting here. They'll always tell their people that, okay, great, you did well, but you must do up to here. Did well, you must do up to here. Did well. Isn't that? EBITDA is not enough. More. NI is not enough. More. So that will be that's the case with our boss also. So he made us think once again totally out of the box. Think what did you miss in the first design? Think what are the other things that we can do better? Everything in terms of regeneration of energy, in terms of braking, in terms of vibrations. We sat back on the drawing board and we redesigned the entire thing. And the Vande which got rolled out in August, and the first one was inaugurated by Prime Minister on 30th of September. The train has perfected something which is the most difficult thing in a vehicle design. So how many of you are associated with automobile industry? Right? Quite a few. If the road is bad, what will you do? Suspension has to be better. The chassis has to be better. Right? The structural strength has to be better. It has to be more rigid. Maybe you have to think of a rigid body between the... So lots of things have to be designed, correct? The vibrations should not get transmitted up. Harmonics have to be controlled. So the equivalent of a chassis in a train is called bogie. In our common parlance, when we say bogie, generally we think that that's the coach is the bogie. No, coach is not the bogie. Coach is the coach. There is a coach body above in which we all sit, and then there is below there is a bogie. There are two bogies actually. Each of the bogie has the wheels inside it, the gear inside it, the brake inside it. Then the traction motor sits on it. Lots of other systems sit on it. All these systems, it's a very, very complex machine. A typical bogie would be like the size of this stage. Typical bogie would be the size of this stage. And it's a very, very complex machine. 18 very complex structural elements are there, which all of them interact with each other. And that's how so we redesigned the entire bogie. And in other advanced countries, where the margin of design is 3.5 millimeter, we took a challenge that no, the margin of design has to be less than 1 millimeter. So, very difficult task. People sometimes say that, yaar, ye kya hai? 3 बहुत अच्छा था. जर्मनी भी एक्सपोर्ट कर सकते थे, हम 3 करते तो. मैंने कहा अगर 1 से कम करोगे तो जर्मनी पक्का एक्सपोर्ट करोगे. So the engineers it was a difficult task. Believe you me, it was a very difficult task to design a bogie with that kind of margins and a very robust air spring, almost like a cushion on which the vehicle is resting. And this train, despite the condition of our tracks today, is able to give a riding quality which is significantly superior to any other train in the country. It is comparable to most of the international trains in the world. So the anecdotal thing is, if we put a glass of water on the train when it was getting tested, how many of you saw that video? Right? The train was tested at 180 kilometers per hour on a track between Delhi and Kota, and that glass of water did not even shake. That glass of water was lying on the driver's desk and that did not even shake. So imagine, that's the quality of ride which is there. Prime Minister traveled almost 45 minutes by that train, and all the welders, electricians, all of them we had called to meet with the PM, and they wanted photograph obviously. So PM had to stand up again and again to get the photographs. 12, 13 times PM stood up and got the photographs done. Not a single time he had to take the support of the chair or of the cabin baggage area. That is the quality of this train. Sound quality, because the underlying structure is so good that vibrations don't come in, and vibrations means sound, right? So sound doesn't come in. So the sound quality inside the train is 1/100th of the sound inside an airplane. That's the quality. So I invite all of you to find some opportunity to travel by that train. It's an experience in itself. And do put a glass of water there, take its video and put it on the Facebook or Insta or Twitter. You'll feel proud of the country's talent. You'll feel proud of the way Prime Minister showed complete trust in our talent, in our ability to deliver, in our ability to design something world class. And today, 18 countries have reported in their newspapers, and we didn't feed it. It's natural, organic. 18 countries have reported about this train in their newspapers. And hopefully, by the time we meet, maybe next year this time, we would have done about 75, 80 trains. And when those 80, 100 trains run for 2-3 years, the whole world's market will be India's market. That's the Atmanirbharta challenge which Prime Minister has given to the country. And that's the talent which has stood up to that challenge and met that challenge, achieved those goals in a very big way. So that was the first story. Friends, from railways, there are many more stories. We are about to complete the process for a world-class 9,000 horsepower locomotive. Process is complete. Another 12,000 horsepower locomotive, or most of our locomotives we have today are of 6,000 and 4,500 and 2,600 horsepower capacity. So this will be a step change in the way we manage railways. And last year railways did, normally we add 10, 20, 30 million ton every year. Last year we added 184 million tons. So that was like 6-7 times the average. So that's the challenge PM has given us. Transform railways in a totally fundamental way. And the team has stood up to that challenge. And I want you to give big round of applause for the railways team. Their sound should go to the Rail Bhavan. And whenever you find, thank you. Whenever you find an opportunity, whenever you go to a railway station, go and look at that person who is managing the train, who's managing the station. Give a pat on his back. Say that, I know that you are doing Prime Minister's work. Say that thing, please. Great. So that was the first story. The second story is about telecom. Again, we know that telecom is such a strategic sector, and our engineers are the ones who are designing systems for practically every large company in the world. Every big manufacturer, every big software provider, every big technology provider has Indian engineers who are doing most of the work. So in 2020, when the Aatmanirbhar Bharat package was announced, PM gave the challenge that why can't we have our own telecom technology stack? Only five countries in the world today have the end-to-end telecom technology stack. Once again, the same story happened. Lots of people tried to scuttle the work multiple ways. You want to do something good, and there will be 10,000 people who will say that नहीं यार ये ऐसे नहीं हो सकता, इसको ऐसे काटो, इसको ऐसे करो, इसको ऐसे करो. That's the classic way, and it took great amount of perseverance, took great amount of determination, took really huge amount of trust in the capabilities of our people. This year, May 2022, when we tested our telecom technology stack, we tested it for 5 million simultaneous connections. There are countries which don't even have that kind of population. And now we are testing it for 10 million simultaneous calls. Compared to the other legacy systems from very large companies and very developed countries, this system is a step above because we didn't have the legacy system, right? So we didn't have to think of how to modify the legacy system and do something better. Instead of that, we simply took blank paper, and a totally virtualized system is now getting rolled out, getting tested. We already have received inquiries from about 8 large telecom operators all over the world to take the Indian telecom stack to the world. So that's that kind of thought process which didn't exist 10 years back. In this country, there is a whole lot of people, a whole set of people who are always busy pulling down the development efforts. And there's a large population of that. Very unfortunately, many of them were in this place where we are right now meeting. And for them, any effort to develop something, अरे यार हो ही नहीं सकता, क्या unnecessary करते हैं, अरे लाओ ना बाहर से. That kind of language was used again and again and again and again and again and again. Imagine what kind of effort and what kind of determination would it would have required to break that nexus. Imagine that. So when you think of a private startup, a small startup sending a satellite into the space, or absolutely digital banking, or a person, small street side vendor putting a QR code on the jacket, or you get your vaccination certificate in instant. When developed countries, they wait for 10 days to get the certificate in the mail, right? Then you imagine, then you pause for a second, you wait a second, start thinking how this change has happened. This change has happened because of the resolve of our leadership. This change was possible because a large number of naysayers were left behind, and the people who thought that yes, we can do, those were the people who were given the responsibility, those were the people in whom the trust was shown, those were the people in whom resources were placed, and that put our engine forward. That put our journey forward. Today there are telecom equipment manufacturers who are thinking that couple of years they would become exporters. I just had a meeting with 42 CEOs who are CEOs of telecom equipment manufacturers, and look at the resilience, look at the ebullience, look at the energy in them. Each one of them thought that in 2 years, 3 years, I would be exporting. They don't even think that India is enough. They think that no, for me, the entire world is the oyster now. That's the thinking which has come in. So be a part of this journey. This is a great journey. Contribute to it whichever possible way you can within your own means. Look at what you can do to have more and more deeper supply chains within the country. And I'll make you one last request. So I told you 2 stories as I promised, and one request I'm making. The 3 departments which Honorable Prime Minister has given the responsibility at this point of time, I'll request whatever change you want, whatever transformational ideas you have, whatever reform ideas you have, even if it is a small infinitesimal small delta in our engineering language, even if it is small delta change that you would like us to change, please come and share with us. Very open mind, we are taking all ideas. We are very, very eager to listen to you. All the changes which have happened, whether in telecom, Prime Minister was gracious enough, and I mean the risk that was there was huge, but he took that risk and did these reforms, which shows that this is a government which wants to change, wants to transform, wants to make a big difference in people's lives. So come out with your ideas, share your ideas in whichever forum, whichever way, whichever office, whichever way you can coordinate everything. Please do that. We are open to your ideas. We would love to listen to you and make the changes which are your aspirations, which are the aspirations of our next generations. This is the time to build the country. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that very impactful address. Changes happen due to leadership such as yours, which is unwavering and completely resolute. India is utilizing technology to improve governance and public service delivery, and also progressing rapidly towards achieving technology Atmanirbharta under the able guidance of our Honorable Minister, Shri Ashwini Vaishnav. Let's give him a huge, resounding round of applause one more time. And now, thank you very much, sir. And now we will be opening the floor for questions. But of course, the first question or the first concern is going to come from our dynamic chairman of CI Global Economic Policy Summit, Mr. Uday Kotak. Sir.
I'm going to take the liberty, since the minister is responsible for quite a few ministries, one question each, okay, for each of the roles. First is on telecom, sir. Telecom has been the backbone, and we have seen through COVID period, it has really served the nation phenomenally. We are now down to, if I am liberal, I will say 3 players plus BSNL. How do you see the role of BSNL from here?
Thank you for asking this question. BSNL will become a very strong stabilizing factor in the telecom sector. How? I'll explain the process. BSNL has about 135,000 towers all across the country. Very strong presence in the rural areas, especially in the areas which are still not fully covered by the other telecom players. Now, the telecom technology stack that I discussed in the previous, the address, that telecom technology stack is going to be rolled out. It's a 4G technology stack which will be upgraded to 5G in a time frame of 5 to 7 months. That technology stack will be rolled out across this 135,000 towers in the country. So which means comparable to the 2 other big players and another player, third player, this will become, BSNL will become a major 4th player in the telecom space, and especially for the far-flung areas, the rural areas, for the areas which really wouldn't be served by a typical market mechanism.
Thank you very much, and I think that is important, because on the one hand we want consolidation, but on the other hand we want enough competition to be there in every sector. So that is one point. Second is moving to the whole area of data protection, sir. And I know you faced, there's a lot of challenges in that. There are very diverse views on that, but also keeping in mind that there is a deep connect with security angle as well, and the importance of individual privacy. How do you see yourself navigate through this?
I think the government's policy, government's intent, government's functioning is absolutely clear on this subject. All the established principles of maintaining individuals' privacy, of protecting people's privacy, those principles are today well established. Now, on one hand, we have these principles which we strictly adhere to. On the other hand, we have a huge, very dynamic innovation ecosystem. We have 100 plus unicorns. We have 80,000 plus startups. So this very strong, dynamic, agile innovation ecosystem should be able to prosper, should be able to grow. So we have learned from the experience of many other countries and recently published the data protection bill draft, and from the response that we have got, it's phenomenal response. I mean, practically every stakeholder that we have consulted, except for a so-called few experts who are on one very big, kind of extreme, except those, everybody has praised it. Everybody has said that it's a very simple language. It meets all the tests that Supreme Court has laid out, and this is the way we can take the data economy forward. And many people have actually gone out to say that in the coming years, very soon, other countries will probably copy, other countries will probably take India's data bill as the template and make changes in their bills.
Thank you, Minister. And third is on the railways. I must first say that India, from a financial planning point of view, was a genius in terms of financing of the bullet train. And I'll tell you why. I mean, for the audience, I mean, you obviously know. We took 50-year money for the bullet train at 1% per annum, borrowed in the Japanese yen. For many of you who are aware of the financial markets, the Japanese yen in the last 1 year has depreciated nearly 30% against the dollar and maybe about 20% against the rupee. So at this stage, India has not only got zero cost money, we have saved net rupees by having borrowed in Japanese yen at 1% for 50 years. It is an amazing financial transaction for India. And I'm sharing this with you because not many people have talked about it. It is truly an outstanding financial engineering. Of course, there was a risk because at that stage, the yen used to appreciate continuously, but it has worked to India's advantage. I hope it remains over the next 50 years. But in that context, Minister, question to you. When do we get the first ride in the bullet train?
2026.
Okay.
The progress is very good. As of today, 118 kilometers of pillars are already constructed. 8 bridges on large rivers. They are very good stage, almost reaching the deck level. The design work is practically complete. The undersea tunnel, which will be done to connect Mumbai with the Thane Creek, that tender is already out now. Practically everything that needs to be done is in very good shape. The Japanese partners are very happy with the progress. Some people have actually come and said that in the first year of construction of any bullet train project in the world, this is probably the highest. In 1 year doing 100 kilometers, construction is probably among the highest in the world.
That's great, and a big round of applause for that. And now I'll ask Soumitra if he has any questions before we open up.
Just only one question, but slightly elongated. Minister, going 30 years to Europe, I really feel proud about our leapfrogging on digital, including on telephone and telecom. Many of the European countries are today decades behind us, and with baggages of GDPR and many things. Same with railways. Today, again, we are leapfrogging from mediocrity to something which is at par with the world's best. So I have just 2 questions. The first question is, this sweet spot we've never had, in my view at least, but I need your view, ever for India. How do we capture it? because we have to capture it where the world sees, believes, participate, including industry here. Therefore, what would your message be to industry here, Indian companies, global MNCs, everyone, about the Jugalbandi? And my second question, as a proud Indian, I see the center leapfrogging without baggages in a consistent manner. How can we keep the center state gap reduced, even euphemistically eliminated? Because there is a gap.
Very good question, and if you allow me 4 or 5 minutes to answer it. In the, I think in the management committee of CII, last year we met. How many of you were present in that committee, in that meeting? Not many of you, okay. In that meeting, we discussed what is the philosophy behind our economic management at this point of time, right? Over the last few years. This is a very carefully crafted strategy in which the country will be in this kind of growth phase, not just for 1 year or 2 years. So why I took this point like this is because this is not a sweet spot for today only. This is going to be a phenomenal growth path over at least a decade, coming decade. At least 1 decade we are going to see 6 to 8% of real growth over the next 10 years. And why that is the case, I'll explain in a little bit of detail. In 2021 budget, Prime Minister changed the entire course of our economic management, shifted the entire focus from small interventions to a complete transformational investment strategy. And unlike many of the Western economies, where the focus was on consumption, he put the focus on investment in our long-term future. Now, there were many critics who said that yes, investment is good, but it is not going to give the result in 1 year. So why put so much of reliance on investment as the strategy? But Prime Minister's clear conviction, basis his experience in Gujarat, was so strong in the investment strategy that he did not deter, and he was clear in his determination on that path. So in 21 budget, we had 5.5 trillion rupees as capex allocation from the central government's budget. That was increased in the 22 budget to 7 trillion rupees capital allocation for capex. The results are today clearly visible. Sector after sector, we see the capacity utilization, and Janmay, thank you for sharing that data with me. Capacity utilization has gone from 60-65% to many cases 80-85%, many cases even 90%. On an average, it is aggregate level, it is about 72-75%. The formal sector employment measured by PF registrations, Provident Fund registrations, new registrations minus the people who leave plus the people who join again. If you take the net of this, pre-COVID it used to be about 6 lakh per month. Now it is 15 lakh per month. So it's a step change, and this step change has a lot of good sound economics behind it, and this strategy is continuing. This strategy is continuing because our central government's balance sheet is very healthy. If we look at the total liabilities of the central government, we are just about 53.8% or 54% of the GDP. That's not something which we need to worry about. Our borrowings from the market are very limited, just about 16 trillion rupees today. So that kind of healthy ecosystem, and when we put money in the infrastructure investment, close to 28% of it comes back in the form of taxes over a period of 3 years, because infrastructure has that life cycle. So it's a very good harmonious growth path, sustainable growth path that we have. So this was a long answer, but the short answer to your question is start investing in your capacity now, because suddenly you will find that you are short of capacity. If you were thinking of doing your capacity addition 3 years from now, I'll request you start at least keeping some margin in your planning and do pull back little of that forward, pull forward some of that capacity investment plans that you're thinking, because the demand is growing at a very consistent rate, and when the third year of this capex cycle starts showing result, that is the time when we really start seeing very big, and those from the automobile sector would vouch that the demand for car has, for the, I mean, it's massive at higher values. It's, and for practically everything, this Diwali was a very good example of how the demand has picked up. And when the demand starts percolating down to two-wheelers, then you see a real big change. That means that the entire cycle has really, we have a very detailed model that demand has really come full circle, and then the circle of growth starts beginning. To the second question about removing that delta between state and center, it's a constant endeavor. I can give one example. In the case of ROW permissions, where the state government gives the permission, central government basically gives its permission basis the state government's data. In the case of tower, all the telecom infra, after working very persistently with the state governments, and the last ones to come on board were Delhi and West Bengal, but everybody else came on board very early. Today, on an average, the time used to be 221 days for getting a permission for setting a tower. That has come down to 7 days. 221 has come down to 7 days. So it's possible to fill that gap. Together, we in the government at central level, you in the industry, and the governments at the state level, we have to work together. This is a cooperative federalism spirit. We have to work together and fill those gaps. Thank you.
Shall we open up for the audience? Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen.
One is Janmay and one is the gentleman here.
So we'll start with Mr. Janvijay. No, Mr. Jan. Yes, there
You have
he
a
is.
great voice.
Wait, I'll give you the mic.
Actually, I want to give you some good news. The most critical publication that has been attacking India for the last, 20 years is The Economist. I had lunch with their CEO last week, and she was telling me that the narrative on India has changed, and then went on to cite things even more clearly than you, Minister, about why India has changed and how India has changed, on which dimensions India has changed. She said, you all are going to be, your average age is 27, Africa is 17, Europe and China, US and China is over 38, Europe is over 40, Japan is over 48. So the whole world needs India. Second, she said that you have now actually started to address some of the infrastructure issues in a sustained manner on major areas, roads, railways, and then your telecom stack, your tech stack is the best in the world. I was not speaking. She was speaking. So I must say that the narrative is very important. And for the first time, I have seen Zanny Minton Beddoes had come in April. She was that time still questioning. But this time when the CEO was here, she spoke so positively that it really said, she said, everyone is looking at India. You all are in the lucky spot. If you mess it up, it will be a lost opportunity forever because everyone's looking at you. So I just wanted to give you a bit of a congratulations.
Thank you. Sir, my question each is regarding railway and telecom and electronics. Sir, earlier Mr. Piyush Goyal used to say, if roads are for private vehicle, why not rail for a private rail? So I think to some extent it's going that way. I hope very soon we will have this type of facility so that quality of running is much more better and it is efficiently done. Second thing is recently happened of hacking of AIMS server. If we have our own server or hardware, I think we can have our own facility much more better than earlier, because now we are having our semiconductor in such a large extent. In future, nobody will be able to take this type of adventure, because recently this type of hacking happened is a very rare, which is very harmful for the country. It can be for any ministry also. Thank you.
We'll take a couple of more questions and I'll join his.
Okay.
Sir, my name is Vishal Sanghvi. I'm running Innovation Accelerator Company. Sir, my question about how we can further develop the technology research economy. In earlier session, our World Economy President told about, China has government has invested 300 company, US is 800, India is 30, and major innovation and research happening in the government organization actually. But can we start like IP trading exchange or many others idea where you can add the more and more innovation in the technology research area actually, because we require on stack in many area, health tech or many other area actually. So I want to know further your insight about the boosting the research, technology research economy actually.
Yeah. Sir, I have a quick question. So we make optical fibers, and we are already a step ahead in the sense that we export to the world, and India is already Aatmanirbhar on that. The question I have for you is, wherever we are, whether it's the US or different countries of Europe, people are buying from us, but they still say that the Indian product quality is not yet established. They can't prove it, but that question and that brand exists. What advice do you have for us as an industry to build brand India as a top-notch product line brand?
Okay, I'll take all the questions together. So first I'll touch that point about innovation thing. See, in two sectors especially, defense and railways, we have created a model where any startup can take up a problem statement, bring out a solution, and the defense as well as railways supports that startup from idea to POC to product, and sometimes even to the extent of giving a market or a revenue stream at least for 3 to 4 years. So that is the kind of innovation system which has got developed in these two sectors. It is maturing. In railways, we have about 800 startups associated with us now. And in defense, that number is in the range of about 2,000. So that model has really worked, especially when it comes to utilizing the railway or government funds for startup innovation ecosystem. Now we are taking that model to telecom space. A telecom development fund, telecom technology development fund of 500 crore every year has got established, and that 500 crore is beginning. We will be taking it to 3,000, 4,000 crore per year. So that technology development fund will be available to the entire industry. You can come up with new ideas, new solutions, begin from an idea and come up to a product level. Already many people have got advantage of that. Similar experiments will be done in many other sectors. On the point of quality of Indian products, yes, we will have to make a lot of effort in convincing the world about the quality, and that's where each and every one of us in the industry has the responsibility of looking at what our products are, getting world-class certifications. When I shared this example of bogie design, right? The idea behind that was that if we do something that the world is already doing, then the world will not notice us. Then we will not be making a very big difference. So we will have to always take a bigger challenge and deliver something better at a lower cost and a better quality. Then only the world will really, really take notice of our country. So that challenge we have to see in each and every country, in services, in products, in manufacturing, and everything. Regarding the privatization of railways, we have considered that question in good detail, and very clearly the government has taken a clear, firm stand that railways will not be privatized. It's a very clear stand we have taken, and I've said that in the parliament. The decision has been approved at the cabinet level, so we are not privatizing the railways. So that's a very clear stand we have taken. On the question of cyber security, yes, lots and lots of work is happening already. Many good innovations and many good security systems have already come up, and many more will be coming up.
All right. Just if Mr. Shetty could make his question very pointed, and Mr. Goel has a final question. I think just last two questions, Honorable Minister. Yes.
Honorable Minister Deepak Shetty, I'm CEO Managing Director JCB. I just want to make a point.
Our capacity utilization is how much, you tell me?
Almost 85%.
Excellent. Good.
Sir, while living and working in Europe, I used to always think about the machines, our machines being moved by rails. And when you used to hear the machines being stuck at the borders. A year back, in the National Council meeting, I had spoken about us moving machines through trains to Bangalore. I just want to make a point. We have now moved to Hyderabad. And it was very pleasing recently to move to Guwahati. I just wanted to compliment you and the support that we have received. That is a great message, particularly from CO2 reduction, etc. So just wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you so much. But I also want to tell you that this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. The new products that Railways is coming up with, right now we have huge capacity constraint. Really, we are running at like 180% of our capacity. So, and good thing is that the team has taken up the challenge, and what was about 4 kilometers a day new track commissioning is today 12 kilometers a day new track commissioning. So new railway tracks are now getting commissioned at 12 kilometers a day pace, and Prime Minister has, again, like a good boss, he has given us that 12 is not enough. You must do about 20 a day, then only it will be good. So of course that's an achievable target. Next year we should be doing 20. So once we have a bit of capacity constraint settled, we will be bringing up very good products where a large number of less than truckload LTL cargo, what we call less than truckload cargo, which is not getting to the trains because we don't have the capacity at this point of time, will be attracted to railways in a very, very big way. So look forward to those innovations in the coming years.
Professor Goel, please. Final question.
Thank you. I am N.K. Goel, known as Chairman of TIMA. Sir, I just want to compliment you for the pride you have given to India, because as a founder of World Economic Forum, we go to 74 countries. Everybody is talking about BSNL 4G, how you made it. And the beauty is, other parts of the world has taken 30 years and you just took 2 years. That's a wonderful thing. A target which was unbelievable. And if time, I would like to have some more views on the export of this 4G product to world. Thank you.
This will be a big export item in the coming years. I can say with guarantee that the way Prime Minister gave us a clear vision, a resolute determination, absolute crystal clear mandate that come what may, we must develop this technology. So that was the reason why we were able to do it within 2 years. And as you rightly pointed out, other countries have taken many more years to do it. And within next 2 to 3 years, India will be a large exporter of telecom technology products.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, can we have a huge, loud round of applause once again as we express our gratitude to Shri Ashwini Vaishnav, Honorable Minister for Railways, Communications, Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. Thank you, sir. It was tremendously inspiring to have you in our midst, talking to us. Thank you very much. And I thank Mr. Uday Kotak and Mr. Soumitra Bhattacharya for guiding us on the way forward. A big round of applause once again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a high tea break, and post that we will have our next session graced by the Honorable Minister Shri Piyush Goyal. Thank you very much. Thank you.